The rise of AFC Bournemouth.
We've got some big breaking news to bring you, and Bournemouth have sacked their head coach Gary O'Neill.
We are hearing that Gary leaves the club after overseeing 37 matches last season.
The guy who saved them last season from relegation has been sacked.
Doesn't make any sense. Doesn't make any sense.
Something had to change.
Bournemouth have announced their replacement for Gary O'Neill.
What is it about this guy that will do a better job?
Good one, we recover position, look. Recover positions, arrive. Yes, bravo Jadon.
Phase 1, the collapse. Gary O'Neill was sacked by Bournemouth, having only been in the post for 292 days. His initial stint as a caretaker manager at the club earned him his job, but things seemed to go downhill from there. Was it the added pressure? Expectation, responsibility? Since taking the role permanently, O'Neill was only in charge for a further 25 matches, averaging just 0.92 points per match. And although surviving relegation, Bournemouth just couldn't see the signs of improvement, as they ranked 18th in the table for XG, and most surprising of all, last place for expected goal difference, displaying their clear inconsistencies in both the attacking and the defensive department. So Bournemouth wanted someone who would bring exciting, attacking football to the Vitality. Phase 2, the leap. Enter Andoni Iraola, a manager who has displayed consistency wherever he went, having managed in Cyprus and in the top 2 Spanish divisions, but never before in England. This was a risk, but Iraola had a full pre-season to build the foundations and get his squad looking the way he wanted it to. And he had a pretty tough start, picking up 0 wins in his first 9 Premier League games in charge, sitting 19th in the table. But it was his style that was certainly interesting and is what caught the eye. This was one of Iraola's first lineups in the Premier League versus Liverpool, setting up in a traditional 4-2-3-1. And although losing the match, they certainly caused Liverpool some problems, nearly matching the home side for big chances created. And it was in fact their high pressing system which forced a turnover and led to their first goal inside 3 minutes of that match. But the pace and the tempo at which Liverpool were moving the ball meant that their off-the-ball man-to-man press was proved to be ineffective, and it left the back line completely isolated. The team were definitely disjointed off the ball, but to develop true cohesion takes time. This was a learning curve, and what happened next came as no surprise. Phase 3, the turning point. Over the next 9 games, Bournemouth hit form, collecting 22 points from those matches and scoring 21 goals, including an impressive away win at Old Trafford. This form propelled them up to 13th in the table, and things were beginning to click. Iraola found his best 11. A midfield partnership of Christie and Cook was developed, with Kluivert coming in as at number 10, with Tavernier and Semenyo on the wings. And Iraola actually kept the exact same spine to this team for the next 5 matches in a row. His principles were simple but so effective. Run more than the opposition, press high off the ball, and attack with pace. And these principles show in the stats. During that season, Bournemouth were one of the quickest attacking teams in the league, and kept really good company near the top for direct attacks, which is extremely promising for a mid-table side. Whilst off the ball, their PPDA, or passes per defensive action, highlighting the team's pressing intensity, ranked them 6th in the league. And this chart here shows their style in a nutshell. The zones where they dominate the ball compared to the opposition. And you'll actually see that the only zone on the pitch that they held more possession against the opposition across that full season was inside their own penalty box, which of course is expected. You're clearly doing something wrong if that bit's in the red. But this shows that Bournemouth are not a possession-based team. They don't like to dominate the ball. Bournemouth finished their season in a comfy 12th place. These are all the stats that support the beginning of their rise, and we'll go on to explain the evolution of their tactics. Phase 4, finding the balance. The 2024 summer transfer window rolled around, and although Bournemouth were looking good, they needed that extra push, and it was a chance for Iraola to bring in some more players that he wanted. Dean Howson being one of them. Centre-back who they signed for just 15 million euros and has been an absolute revelation. Also with the departure of Dominic Solanke to Spurs, Evan Nilsson was brought in to fill that void. A hard-working centre-forward who undoubtedly suits Iraola's style, whilst also bringing in a very capable goalkeeper in Kepa, with an abundance of Premier League experience. Bournemouth found that correct balance between attack and defence, improving the most in the defensive department. Since Dean Howson came into the starting 11 for the injured Senesi, Bournemouth kept 5 clean sheets out of 12 matches. Compare that to the whole of last season where Bournemouth only kept 6 clean sheets across that campaign. And then we see that Bournemouth Bournemouth are now giving up way less chances on their goal. A 58.1 XG conceded last season compared to only 32 this season. The improvement in this department was vast, and it certainly didn't affect Iraola's gun-ho approach. In fact, it was the very completion of it. Phase 5, Iraola ball. Bournemouth's style and consistency this season has shot them up the league to 5th place, and they are now actually flirting with the idea of European football. Side are in a place now where the whole team are bought into Iraola's vision. Off the ball, Bournemouth press with intensity, but they do so in the correct areas. If they feel like they are against an opponent who will struggle in the build-up phase, they'll press high and man-to-man, looking to win that ball back in dangerous areas of the pitch, normally in central areas. For example, if the ball was played from the opposition goalkeeper into this side of the pitch, that's when Bournemouth start their press. The striker will curve his run, pressing the ball and also cutting off this other pass to the other centre-back. The left-sided player, often Semenyo, would step up into this central area here. Cliver would shift across onto this man, and then the right midfielder would of course step up very aggressively onto the fullback. But the two central midfielders and the back line also play a key role. They would come up right on the back of these two pivot players because they don't want them receiving the ball and turning. Straight away, if their structure is disjointed and one of these players don't do their job, this man is left open, he's able to turn, and then the opposition have just beaten a 5-man press with one pass, and they can then look to get bodies forward. So to prevent that from happening as well, the back line would also step up extremely aggressively, often on the halfway line. And if the ball gets switched over, Bournemouth would apply the same principle, getting across the pitch, man to man in the correct zones. But they also have an approach where they tempt the opposition forward just a little bit towards the halfway line. They sit in a mid-block ready to pounce, to then utilise that space left in behind by the opposition. And then upon winning the ball back, they can play to their strengths of being direct and quick. And then when on the ball, it's their direct passing patterns which carve opposition defences open, often able to create matched up situations or overloads on the back line because of the sheer amount of bodies that they have in attacking areas. From there, it's a case of, can you be creative? You've got the bodies in the attack, you've got the options. It's now on yourself as a player to be creative in whatever way possible. And they can also use the overlap very effectively. In particular, Kirkes, who has also been a revelation this season. He makes perfectly timed runs so that the opposition fullback is stuck in no man's land, because as soon as he stops to stand up that winger, he has got absolutely no chance of getting back to the run of Kirkes. This is a team who understand hard work, a back line able to deal with any situation, a midfield engine room who win the ball back in dangerous areas, and an attack with directness, flair and creativity. This is Iraola ball. This is AFC Bournemouth.